Loceng telah berbunyi. Ayo kita teruskan agenda kita pada hari ini. Alright, thank you very much everyone. Thank you for your cooperation. And please take your seats, be comfortable as we will starting off our next session. Welcome back everyone. Hope you had a good break, a short break, feeling energized with coffee and tea and light refreshments. All right, so now we shall continue with our summit this morning with the next presentation. All right, allow me to introduce our next speaker. He has served as the director of Malaysia's National SDG Centre since August 2023. Formerly with UNDP, he led the Inclusive Growth and Prosperity Unit and served as Assistant Resident Representatives for Malaysia, Singapore and Brunei. Mr. Asfazam bin Kasbani. Let's take a look on the very special video. Check it out.
Malaysia, an upper-middle income country in Southeast Asia, is home to a vibrant, multi-ethnic society rich in culture and mega-diversity. Its development is guided by Madani, a visionary policy framework aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Malaysia's path toward becoming a sustainable, prosperous, and high-income nation is shaped by the 12th Malaysia Plan and its mid-term review. The 2025 Voluntary National Review is more than a progress report. It's a reflection of a whole-of-nation commitment to sustainable development. At the heart of Malaysia's development priorities are its people, ensuring continuous improvements in the quality of life for all Malaysians. The country's economic resilience continues to advance inclusive growth and greater prosperity with the main priority to reducing inequalities. Malaysia also stands poised to address the triple planetary crisis through strategic frameworks and nationwide initiatives. Efforts to strengthen governance and regional unity remain central to achieving a more inclusive and sustainable future. As the 13th Malaysia Plan approaches, it marks the final phase of the nation's SDG implementation in meeting the 2030 Agenda. Malaysia's journey towards a high-income nation is anchored in people-centric development, underpinned by unity, purposeful and sustainable action for the future. The nation remains steadfast in its commitment to deliver the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
We should do whatever is necessary, our best, to ensure that we do achieve these goals in a more spectacular manner, because that is a sign of what Madani is all about.
Please put your hands together for Mr. Asfazam bin Kasbani.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you guys doing today? Good? Right. Okay. Thank you so much, MC, for the introduction. I thought that video is about myself, but actually it's about VNR. Okay. What I will do today is basically present you on the VNR, Voluntary National Review. I just want to see from the floor, how many of you have heard about VNR? Less than 10. All right, no problem. So this is actually the session for us to know about VNR, to learn about it, and try to socialize. And my job is basically to create awareness about what has been going on the VNR front, Voluntary National Review. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia during HLPF this year, High Level Political Forum, July this year, we have presented our third VNR. This is actually a report of what SDG progress is a voluntary basis. And we've been doing this for almost like every 4 years. And Malaysian being good global citizens, we have been following this timeline from time to time. And hopefully in the next VNR in 2029, we will be able to report a much better report on SDG next time around. Okay. So the video that we have seen just now give you a bit overview what's in the VNR report. And the report is actually available in the public domain. You can go to the HLPF website. We have been actually uploaded our report in our SDG Center portal. Just give us a few weeks. There are some issues with that portal, but nonetheless, it should be available in our Ministry of Economy website. So what is the difference between this time, this VNR, compared to the two VNRs that we have done prior? Just to give you a bit background, the first VNR was in 2017, and the second VNR was in 2021. This time around, we will report for all SDGs, and we are among the few countries that are doing this. And this is also the driver for us why we intended to do all 17 goals, reporting all 17 goals, is because we have much more data this time around. We have around 81% data. And especially when you're talking about disaggregated data at the local level, at state and district level, we are quite confident in terms of reporting the current progress at this juncture. Are there any challenges and problems in getting the data? Of course, I mean it's not perfect. This process of getting data is still ongoing, and is an ongoing process, and we are hoping to get this done as best possible by 2030. The VNR process is also a journey. It's also an educational experience for everyone, for stakeholders, from the government, from the CSOs, from the private sectors. So in this process, we have actually conducted many focus group discussions in many places. And about 550 key stakeholders have actually benefited from this across 300 entities, you name it, small NGO, big NGOs, multinational companies, private sectors, banks, financial institutions, and all that. So the process is also reviewed by the ministries, agencies, and other stakeholders. And this time around, we also work together with UN's office, and UNDP, United Nations Development Programme in Malaysia, has been providing us the good support in developing this report. If you have seen just now, the VNR process, the report, is also aligned with the Madani, the economy Madani KPIs. And if we want to link this back with SDG, each and every Madani KPIs are already aligned. So I don't intend to go through all, but this is also reflected in the RMK 13, RMK Rancangan Malaysia 13, where economy Banani is the KPI that RMK 13 will follow. And during this process, we have found out that the enablers for SDG will actually, we noticed that the SDG has been aligned with the national process, and the government itself has been developing the roadmaps, roadmap 1 and roadmap 2, and then now with the RMK 13, which has been agreed by the parliament recently, and been published publicly. It is now time for us to develop SDG Roadmap Phase 3. And this will be the final phase, how we see that each and every indicators will be achieved by 2030. Or if not, why are those targets are not achieved? We also noticed that the Sukuk financing, in terms of financing climate, financing development projects, has been matured enough that it can be reported, and the framework is also available. The partnership with the UN's office has been developed, and as of now, is already going into phase 2. And we have this, for your information, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we have actually a project with the UN's office. We call it as Malaysia UN SDG Trust Fund. And this afternoon, I'm sure our colleagues from the Yayasan My SDG will also share with you what the projects are all about, and how's the progress. Right. All right. Very quickly, and VNR this time, we actually reported on thematic basis, rather than, because SDG has 17 goals, 169 targets, 248 indicators, and now 251 indicators. Too many. If you want to report each and every one of those, it will not be strategic. It will be just reports, pure academic purpose. So what we intended during this VNR process was to report it on thematic basis. And we have heard about 5 P's: planet, people, prosperity, peace, and partnership. But how it is translated into reports, actions, and movement, and I mean those kind of front, is actually reported in the this VNR. On people, for instance, we know that the poverty from previously 8.4% estimated now has reduced to 6.2%. But this data, 6.2% poverty, is actually at 2022 HIES. And you probably heard about it, that the latest data we have been launched. DOSM has launched the latest data, and poverty has now down to 5.2%. But of course, when we report this using the latest 2022 data, as during the June, the latest was during the June preparation before the RMK 13 was sent to the Parliament. Our education level is almost close to 100%, is almost universal at this juncture. Prosperity, our economic growth has been tremendous, has been excellent. And in 2024 is around 5.1%. And in terms of the unemployment rate, and it shows also a decreasing trend from 4.8% to 3% based April 2025. Planet. As you all know, the greenhouse gas emission intensity, we have this target of 45%, and the government is keeping this as best possible. And I'm sure, just like any other reports, just like any other global reports, Malaysia will adhere to it and will commit to that. And the 4th NDC report, I'm sure it will also be timely as needed. Our land coverage, forest coverage is around 54.3%. On peace, peace ni actually bukan not just keamanan, it's also talking about governance. And the report that we received from the Corruption Perception Index from 2021 is 62nd, and now in 2024 we have down 57 position. And in terms of US trafficking in person, TIP report, we have also moved up from tier 3 to tier 2 in 2024. And last but not least is on partnership pillar. In 2019, we have around 84.2% in terms of connectivity, and now almost like universal. Of course, there are gaps and pockets here and there, but generally we are target-wise, data-wise, we are around 97.7%. And last but not least, as you all know, this year is Malaysia's chairmanship of ASEAN, where we also focus on inclusivity and sustainability. Some highlights of the Malaysia's SDG achievement. We are, during the June period, we are now at 43%. And if we want to break it up into each and every goal, we see some goals actually good, in progressing well, and some goals actually need further improvement and require further attention. And the latest report that we got from DOSM, and based on our own analysis, the figures has reached around 49%. A little bit more on the people's pillar overview, progress and also achievement. And when we talk about people's pillar, we are referring to SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 3, SDG 4, and SDG 5, gender. Progress and achievement in 2022, around, as I said just now, 8.4% estimated. Now is around 6.2% during that time. Per 1,000 live births, decline in maternal mortality rate used to be 68.2, now is 25.7. Unfortunately, there is also, although as much as possible, we want to achieve the 30% self-target of women in the managerial position, but still in 2023 is around 25.4%. Nonetheless, we see this increase from the previous years. Universities in Malaysia are also very active, and they have been doing tons of SDG and also ESG's work. And I'm just showing you some universities, top 10, top 100 universities there, UKM, Sanwi University, as well as USM. And the way forward on people's pillar will include, we need to improve the disaggregated data and also inclusive policy making, and also cross-agency support for vulnerable groups. When we say vulnerable groups, means single mothers, orang asli, orang asal, and PWDs and others. Advancing gender equality, persons with disability, and aging inclusion through legal reforms and care systems. And by now, and as you have read that RMK 13, we are now very clear that 2043 will be the aging nation for Malaysia. Previously, maybe 2040, maybe 2044, but now it has been made clear is 2043. And then last but not least is to strengthen early and special needs, technical and also digital education, especially in underserved areas. For prosperity pillar, talking about productive economy and prosperity and enabling inclusive and also balanced sustainable development for decent living. In terms of its progress and achievement, as I shared with you, our economic progress has been good, 5.1% in 2024. I'm not talking about VNR, Voluntary National Review, but any of you have heard about VLR, Voluntary Local Review? Can I see some hands? Masih lagi bawah 10. So, Voluntary Local Review is actually a voluntary reporting process organized and done by the PBTs, by the local authorities, as well as the state government. But we actually have a good stories on this, good Malaysian stories on this, and compared to other countries globally, Malaysia has actually produced 15 VLRs globally in 2024, and we are expecting around 29 more VLRs in 2025. And KPKT through Urbanis, also an agency under KPKT, has been very active in this and educating about SDGs at the local level and all that. We have heard about HGHV, high growth, high value, and also zones that has been dedicated on it, especially from the 12th Malaysia Plan midterm review. And as you probably have heard, strong and emphasis on industries development on these economic areas has been made clear during that period. A way forward for prosperity, increase employment by TVET education, quality jobs, and also wage reforms, boost productivity through industrial upgrades as well as value chain integration, and also to reduce income, gender disparity, and regional gaps with inclusive policies and social protection. On planet, and the themes that we have put in the VNR is on navigating the triple planetary crisis and pursuing net zero emissions and green transitions. And in terms of ecological physical transfer, that amount has been increased to 250 million as of now. And forest cover has been good, as has been shared with you earlier. And our national recycling rate has also been good, from 13.2% in 2014, and now is around 35.4% in 2023. And how do we address some of the challenges in the planet? We will address the planetary crisis with holistic policies and integrated planning. Number 2 is on strengthening conservation financing by carbon markets and blended finance and other methods that can help the private sectors to also come in. And last but not least, to enhance climate adaptation in key sectors and risk-based, tech-enabled and community-led approaches. On peace pillar, is on strengthening governance system and also public reform, public sector reform. I've shared with you about the CPI that has been improved to 57 now. Our Open DOSM platform has been enhanced. Our Global Peace Index, Malaysia is actually top 10 peace countries in the world, for your information. And last but not least, a lot of legislative related reforms are also ongoing at that time. Including Parliamentary Services Act, policy development such as National Children Policy on strengthened protection for children. And the way forward for this will be on strengthening legal frameworks and expand access to justice, advancing good governance, and last but not least on fostering civic participation and transparency. The last pillar is on partnership, working together globally, regionally, even among the various groups, government, private sectors, NGOs, and all that. Progress and achievement. We have been strong in South-South cooperation. For your information, I think Minister of Foreign Affairs has organized a lot of transfer of technology and also knowledge sharing workshops, lessons, bringing people from developing countries to Malaysia and vice versa. Malaysia is also was a member from 2022 to 2024, was a member to the United Nations Human Rights Council and has been very active on it, and ODIN, an Open Data Inventory Score, which has been actually organized by a third party and has ranked Malaysia as #1 in terms of Malaysia's data inventory and also transparency. And way forward on partnership pillar to advance further international cooperation through South-South cooperation as well as ASEAN 2025 leadership, strengthen multi-level governance by the GovTech, as well as improve private-public partnership, and last but not least, to enhance data governance with digital infrastructure and open data system, especially when we're talking about SDG reporting and also delivery. All right. In my conclusion, based on the 3 VNRs that Malaysia has from 2017, 2021, and 2025, again, as I said, it's actually a journey, an education process for everyone, especially getting to know each other, CSOs, government, private sectors, and other parties. Horizontal as well as vertical. Vertical means working together with people in the kampungs, in Sabah, in Pendalaman, in Sarawak, to understand what's actually their problems and what are actually actions that have already been taken. And moving forward, from now until 2030, as you have heard in the Deputy Minister's speech just now, RMK 13 is actually the actions on SDGs. We are hoping that RMK 13 will be able to assist Malaysia in meeting the targets by 2030. And from the National SDG Center side, Pusat SDG Negara side, there will be an effort to develop the SDG Roadmap Phase 3, where we will then quantify and identify where will be the targets for these 251 indicators that will be. Some of it actually has been reflected in RMK 13, but there are actually still gray areas. Like poverty, we just looking into absolute poverty, but here in Malaysia, we have practicing about multidimensional poverty. It's not just poverty based on income, but also based on infrastructure, the quality of life, and all that. For your information, if you want to get more clarity and more information about the report, feel free to download it from the QR code in front of you. That's it. Thank you so much. I end my presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Asfazam bin Kasbani. Speaking on aligning national ambition with global action, insights from Malaysia's 2025 Voluntary National Report. So as what Mr. Asfazam mentioned earlier, we are hoping that RMK 13 will be able to assist Malaysia to achieve all targets. However, it is a journey, it is a process, and it is a collective effort from all. So thank you once again, Mr. Asfazam bin Kasbani. And now, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, we shall divert our attention. All right, this is where we call it the local spotlight. What we do here is we shine the spotlight on inspiring young leaders who are championing sustainability in our nation. So we have here today very prominent young leaders. So I would like to call upon the first one. We are so delighted to welcome our first young leader. He is the co-founder and executive director of Damai, I wanted to say Damai Laut, and I know it's a resort. It's actually Demi Laut, a Malaysian social enterprise dedicated to empowering coastal fishing communities through technology, sustainable practices, and improved market access. Driven by his passion for marine conservation and equitable livelihoods, he strives to modernize small-scale fisheries while preserving traditional knowledge. Please put your hands together for Mr. Haziq Ibrahim. Okay, so before Mr. Haziq Ibrahim begin with his presentation, I would like to remind you, please scan the QR code displayed on screen. Should you have any questions you want to address to Mr. Haziq, you can scan the QR code and submit your questions, and I will divert the questions to Mr. Haziq after the presentation. All right, over to you.
Greetings, everyone, to our distinctive leaders and passionate change makers. I'm Haziq, and it's an honor to be here with all of you. I would love to humbly share a little bit about our progress with Demi Laut. Demi stands for the sake of, and Laut means the sea. And our work initially started around the idea of for the sake of the sea. It hasn't been an easy journey, speaking on behalf of myself, trying to run a social enterprise. There was a lot of struggles, a lot of challenge, and life is chasing you, having the dilemma, thinking about whether you should focus, continuing with the efforts and the passion that you have to solve a local problem, or to survive in the world which demands a huge need for you to survive. I think I'm really thankful to have a number of local and global supports that has kept me standing here today, continuing with the idea and coming up with some new upcoming work, scaling up from what we have learned from our past experience. We have been supported by the UNDP Youth Collab, by the government agencies, including Magic Gap. We were part of the ASEAN Foundation programs, and also the alumni of the Google for Startups. And I think thankfully, with these kind of opportunities and support, it had helped me to stay having relevance and momentum, although I think I could be a little bit resilient or just a little bit darn stubborn. However, the momentum was always being carried through with this support, and it had allowed us to see and come up with mitigations and plans to apply different types of approach to look at the context of the sea and hopefully soon to the context of the planet. Next, please. So it all begins in 2019 with the late Pak Cik Noh. He had came up with this idea to come up with a machine that could fit perfectly onto traditional fisher boats. Traditional fishers have to depend on a lot of effort, spending a lot of time going deep into the sea, roughly about 5 hours per day, to and fro, carrying heavy loads of fish on their nets. And sometimes there's just not enough catches for them for the day, or even for them to share with the members who would be carrying the nets with them. So the idea that Pak Cik Noh came up with was to come up with a machine that would allow the traditional fishers to automate the process of pulling the nets from the sea, reducing the dependency on extra men on the boat and allowing them to gain better income. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite straightforward. We were aiming to provide these machines to fishers who would be able to help us record the impacts of how they have changed their operations from destructing fishing practices to sustainable fishing practices. And we realized that it takes a little bit more than what we have thought of in order for us to educate them, to increase their awareness, to help them understand the importance of changing their business as usual operations and survivability, so that we will be able to manage the resources and reserves that we are taking care of as the people of the nation. Next slide, please. The traditional fishers are being caught in this thing we framed the wicked problem. They came from a background of poverty. They had to compete with commercial fishing boats as they are trying to survive. They are unaware of how the climate change have impacted their environments and how their reserves has been depleting. And yet they have lack of accessibilities to tools informations, and knowledges to help them adapt and to be convinced of adopting new technologies to improve their lives or help them sustain their living conditions. Next, please. We came up with this idea where if we could digitize the process of their operations, allowing them to communicate themselves as being a sustainably practicing fishermen, or what we now would call fishers, to be gender biased, we would be able to then rally an interest of supporters to help us continue with this mission, to fund them and allow them to change their livelihoods. We had to spend resources traveling into remote areas from where we are based and spend time, dedicated time, to teach them, to help them buy into the idea that change is required for them to maintain the life that they prefer to have, to live in a good condition. We even came up with a module where we would be working with remote youths who probably would have relatives or who would know somebody or who would be coming from a coastal fisheries villages, so that we will be able to continuously build this effort to educate, to get their buy-ins and adoptions to use our tools, and then report how our tools have impacted their lives and how they are interested to continue with the program because of the mission to conserve what they are working to protect. However, and it can be very costly, it could be geographically challenging, and at the point of time as well, COVID was coming. Next slide, please. So with that, we understand that in order for us to increase the dedications of the fishermen to come on board with us towards this sustainable journey, we figure out that we need to find ways to continuously dedicate and mend intellectuals and talents, to advise them, to guide them, to help them report and record the activities, the licenses, the registrations, to show that they could be compliant and not move towards unregulated, unreported fishing practices. We've partnered with a number of technology partners to quickly come up with a low minimum viable product that had allowed us to create an account for young talents, to manage a few accounts of fishers, to periodically get, guide, and report how the fishers are committing in their operations towards a positive and sustainable outcome. We aim to enable fishery management collaboration. We aim to help the youth support the traditional fishers to come up with a transparent monthly reporting so that we would be able to track their capability in financing and provide them with a digitized traditional fisheries inventory system for us to explore opportunities in the capital city markets with access to on-site and remote coaching with the youth. It somehow worked pretty well. We've captured about 200 plus youths across the nation, and we've gathered interesting, unique stories on why the fishers are doing what they're doing now. And we've learned about what are the possibilities and what are the areas of improvement that we should or we could consider to help get the buy-ins of the fishers. We understand the demographic data and the baseline of understandings of how coastal fishes are operating. And it leads us to small increments of improvements in our work, and we've continued to apply it. Next slide, please. Here's a photo of a young talent who had to experience lockdown for the first time, being stuck remotely with having little drive to nothing to apply her skills and knowledge in marine biology. She was part of the participant that was in our workshop and our program with the intent to get to know a fisher, to get to acquire the backgrounds of the fishes in terms of registrations and licensing, to also come up with understanding of how they are operating daily and catches. And you can see the smiles on their faces. Next slide, please. They are very dedicated and very connected. And we've learned that working with young talents, coming up with opportunities to upskill them in our workshops, providing opportunities to allow them to explore what product development, what project coordination, what innovation and applied science is in our small, humble workshops that we've done remotely on a Zoom software, had led them to come up with this bravery of going out there to really connect with the fishes, to really go out there to understand and to try to contribute to make little changes as much as they can. Next slide, please. They were at the end of the streams, understanding the end-to-end, from the upstream, going from the sea into the market, downstream, to identify, to help us verify what was the real challenges that was going on. And it allowed us to acquire a number of data. And we realized that in order for us to continue to understand this better, we need to send these resources out there to continue to get the information, to continue dedicating their time in odd hours to understand how things are operating, and to help us to allocate new resources if the turnaround from this current talent had to be depleted just because. And this data that we've acquired would allow us to make informed decisions and also possibly help others. Next slide, please. Some of the key learnings that we've gathered here that we would be very happy to share with you is that the youths do have their own needs. They need ways to sustain themselves and their families. They need to learn, apply practical and employable skills. They want to believe that their work at the same time has purpose and impact. But ideally, it's a good vision to have. But in reality, it's not something that we could always ask for. And however, with our projects, we've realized that we could come up with small, little increments that helps these youth to focus on long-term skill building, connecting with like-minded people, and also find the courage to speak to mentors and researchers to understand how they are impacting people and the planet for the work that they are working on. And also allow them who comes from remote places, who probably doesn't have enough exposure, to include them in innovation and global narratives. Mainly, most of them would think that these kind of projects are only for privileged kids. I think that could change with the efforts that we are working on. And with these learnings, next slide, please. We came up with a new vision. We believe that instead of just focusing on the sea, we could actually come up with more increments and steps to begin working closely with the youth and the young talents and possibly national citizens to use different types of instruments and tools that we could come up with, such as device sensors or just any ports or any observations from their cameras, to help us interrogate the baseline of environmental data that we've come to accept all these whiles. So we're coming up with a platform that would allow the youth to pick different types of projects that they are passionate about. They could now probably come up with reports with geolocation data and insights of time and metadata on when they have observed any open burning incidents. We could probably come up with a heat map that would allow researchers, possibly NGOs or governing bodies, to make informed decisions with this data and allow us to allocate a certain amount of fundings so that we will be able to continue with this process. Next slide, please. And with this, I would rally and gather you all. If you are interested to come up and support our work, please scan the QR code, fill up the forms, and we'll arrange a time to connect with you. We're also working with some giant corporate companies to come up with patent partnerships to work on AI systems to massage the quality of our data, and many more. I look forward to hope that this would interest you and we could grow this passion together. Thank you very much. And Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, Haziq. Please remain on stage, Haziq. Please remain on stage. Okay, thank you, Haziq. Can we give him another huge round of applause? Inspiring young leader, thank you for all your effort, your initiatives taken to make this doable. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got a few questions, okay, for you, because some of them scanned the QR code earlier and submitted questions. So I've got the first question here with me, Haziq. From your experience leading youth climate initiatives, what do you think are the biggest barriers young people face in turning their ideas into real scalable climate solutions? Adakah itu soalan cepu emas?
That's a really good
It is
question.
really a cepu emas question. Okay, over to you, Haziq. That's the first question. We have another one.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. I think in order for the youngsters to come up with ideation is rather an easy thing. But an idea would only be viable and valuable if there's enough resilient and persistent to work onto all those little problems that you faced, to come across different opportunities that would allow you to innovate better. The stamina that is required for the youngsters to stay in this field that is very uncertain, that could probably be affecting or costing them their career, is a struggle that all the youngsters would have. Like mine, my parents have always questioned, why am I still standing here when there could be a lot of other opportunities where I could grow and have a better environment and a more productive outcome, especially for my life and when it comes to considering of raising a family. However, I think right now there's a number of initiatives this is growing right now that is helping a lot of youth to at least have a small step, a safe space, and a more protected environment for them to learn about ideation, for them to learn about how to fall gracefully and how they could get themselves back up to come up with more impact and a better outcome for the nation, the planet, and the people. And I think if this could continue, we're also coming up with the same incentives where these small projects would allow them to get the courage, to get the synergy with the like-minded people around them. So they would have that belief that each steps that they have taken is not really a waste, but an investment for something greater. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haziq. So that will be it. Okay, thank you very much once again. Put your hands together once again for Mr. Haziq. Terima kasih, Haziq. I believe you have already inspired a lot of young leaders out there to be as good and to keep going for the sustainability of our nation. Thank you so much. And now moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, we shall continue shining the spotlight on our next inspiring young leader. She is a TV host, she's an actress, a climate activist who is deeply passionate about promoting sustainable living and conscious consumption. Through her platform HeyMelissaTan.com, she shares practical insights on zero waste, climate action, and ethical fashion. As an environmental speaker and community organizer, she has spearheaded impactful initiatives such as Green Day Out, the Conscious Market, and the Clothing Swap that inspire collective action. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Melissa Tan.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Awesome. So I'm really nervous, okay? Because I'm in a room full of people who make big decisions every day. And if you don't quite believe me, I hope in the next few minutes, I'll be able to help you, support you, see that. Okay, let me get used to the clicker first. So, I remember this exact moment 20 years ago. I was in my classroom, and I was holding a newspaper and reading an article, and that's when I first learned about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And most of you will be familiar with this. It is a large mess of marine debris, full kilometers of plastic waste lying in the middle of the ocean. And I'm sure you can guess I was completely horrified. As a kid, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what is happening to the animals? What is happening to the marine life? And what is all this plastic doing there? And I can tell you, what I wished so dearly was, oh my gosh, please, somebody do something about this. The government, David Attenborough, Jane Goodall, someone has to do something about this because I'm just a kid. I'm just one person. So, as you can see, I was very compelled, a huge animal lover, nature lover. So for decades, I did what I thought was the extent of what I could do. I recycled like crazy. And meantime, as I grew up, our world reached breakneck speeds of overconsumption and waste. Meanwhile, I saw the forests and oceans of my childhood disappear and get destroyed. And the climate headlines got worse and worse. And if you were like me, growing up through these last few decades, I know you would know how that feeling was. I felt powerless. And then so happened, about 6 years ago, I decided to revisit my friend, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and I looked him up online. And I thought, surely by now someone has done something about this. And what do you know? It is now 3 times the size of France, 1.5 million square kilometers wide. Plastic has invaded every part of our planet. We're breathing in plastic, drinking in plastic, eating plastic. A credit card's worth of plastic enters our body every single week. This is all common knowledge. But that made me realize, what the heck was I waiting for? I couldn't wait any longer. I waited 2 decades already. And coincidentally, 6 years ago was also when I first learned about zero waste living. From this one person, Claire, my mentor. And it's like she switched on the lights in a dark room. So for a long time, I thought, I'll just recycle as much as I can because I have to help the planet. And she said instead, what if you didn't create waste in the first place? What if instead of recycling more, you recycled less? In that moment, my mind was blown. Why didn't I think of that? It seemed so obvious. It seemed so obvious, yet I couldn't see it. It was right in front of me. But someone had to show me. On average, Malaysians produce about 1.2 kilograms of waste every single day. And you think, that's not so much. Over 1 year, that's 430 kilograms every single person, almost a half a ton of waste. But what if you could bring your waste almost down to zero? And not only that, you're reducing the negative impact to the environment upstream and downstream and creating positive nudges to the system. Through the power of the 5 R's. Now, some of you may be familiar with this, but the gist of it is you refuse what you don't need. Makes sense, right? You reduce what you do need. You reuse everything over and over again, keeping materials and resources in the cycle. And then you recycle what you can't refuse, reduce, reuse. It's almost a last resort. And for all organic materials, you rot, you compost, you put it back into the ground. And that's how you can bring waste and impact, waste almost down to zero and impact to its bare minimum. And then I realized zero waste living was a microcosm of the circular economy. But what we were doing was bringing it to reality today. So safe to say, I jumped down the rabbit hole. I started navigating the world and redesigning life one thing at a time. And it was simpler at first. Avoiding single use, living lightly, and early on, I tapped into the power of community. Through the Zero Waste community, led by Zero Waste Malaysia, with thousands of other Malaysians, we shared ideas, we shared resources. Together, we figured out how do we live ecologically responsibly in Malaysia. And it's beyond single use. We traded consumption for community to things like buy nothing projects, where we can access stuff and recirculate within communities, getting everything we could possibly need without buying more. And this became a way of life. This became automated. And over the last 6 years, I realized I felt freer than ever before. From a raging shopaholic, surrounded by a world that kept telling me, you have to buy more, you have to consume more, you have to waste more because you deserve it, we are in a modern life, this is the way forward. I realized that zero waste living helped me unprogram that belief that the world was trying to tell me. Now the world could no longer pull my strings. Because I was not born to be a consumer, and neither were you. The last 6 years also showed me we can create the reality that we live in. We don't have to just sit back and accept, this is how it's always been, this has always been the way. Because the way our world has been designed in the last few generations, in our human systems, as you will know, it doesn't make sense. That's why we're in a meta-crisis. Mass extinction, plastic waste pollution, climate crisis, it is all compounding because of the way we're doing things. And yet, through the help of my friends in the community, I was living low carbon, low waste, in fast-paced city living in Malaysia. I didn't have to move to a fancy European country that was a sustainable city. I could do it wherever I was. I could redesign life as I knew it. I could even do it in the media industry, on social media, where pressures to look good and consume, market, is at its all-time high. Then I realized how important it was to normalize this. Normalize living in respect of the world around us and being good stewards of it. This is not an alternative. This should be the default. And this is something anyone can do. Now, the common misconception is, this is where it ends. Very good. Individual impact, this is what you should work on. Don't use bottle, but it's not about just BYO and individual impact. This is very important, but it's just the beginning. Over the last 6 years, I think with our friends in the Zero Waste community, you developed the intuition to see how things can be different. You start to see how every choice, every process, every design impacts the world we live in, and is connected to the greater world, the constant heat wave that we're feeling here in Malaysia, the floods, the air quality, how we're confined to our cars. So as an advocate, I started living by example. I started sharing on social media. I started living zero waste. I started encouraging businesses I support to change. I spoke to people, communities, businesses, decision makers. I created opportunities for people to tangibly take action so they can feel it for themselves. This is what it's like to be free. And what I do is not special. In fact, it's something any one of us can do. All I'm doing is contributing my skills, my platform, my influence to connect the dots, to amplify solutions and initiatives locally, to collaborate with all my allies across Malaysia. I help make the less obvious obvious, and that's what Claire did for me all those years ago. And over again, others have come up to me and said, "Oh, I didn't know I could do this, and now I will." See, everyone has influence. What we want to do is cultivate a mindset that is circular, a muscle that enables you to spot opportunities, to problem solve, to remove, reduce inefficiencies and waste, and bring that mindset to where you have influence. Because we don't need everyone to quit their jobs and set up an NGO. We need you to show up with your mindset and use your influence as citizens, as family makers, as community members, as leaders, as employees, as business owners, as policy makers. Every day you're advocating and acting for something. So what will you want to advocate for? Do you want to reinforce the way of life that we've known for these last few generations? Or do you want to create the new world with us? Whether it's as small as a swap to reusables at home, a decision you introduce at your workplace, an initiative or a business you start or support. The thing is, all of this is really simple. It's actually about doing less and opening access to everyone else. This is how we change the culture. This is how we scale nudges to the system. Because it isn't just about making more recycling infrastructure. It's about the way society lives, and you and I are co-creators of our culture. The more we play into overconsumption, overdevelopment, and endless growth, the more we reinforce it. The more you choose differently, the more we're constantly dripping change into the culture. Big systemic shifts are made up of little shifts unseen, and every day we're sending nudges into the system. See something, say something, do something. Normalize the culture of ecological responsibility. And what we need are more lighthouses in the dark, and that's what you are. What you do allows others to see what is possible, and then they can light up too, across all levels of communities, industries, and policies. Just like the two founders of Zero Waste Malaysia. Starting from 2 people, they've built a community that is now more than 50,000 people across Malaysia, and you'll be hearing from them in just a minute. More than 700 solution providers across Malaysia so that all of us can live ecologically responsible. And if you've ever felt like I did once before, as a little kid, helpless in the face of our climate crisis, just remember the ripple effect goes outwards. I hope this plays. No, it doesn't. See, I think of this natural phenomena often called murmuration. Have you ever seen it? Hundreds of thousands of starlings, birds moving in perfect coordination. A whole flock can change direction instantly, changing speed, changing ways of moving, all as if they are one brain. If one bird makes an abrupt change in flight, the whole flock transitions, and each bird influences all the others. Information reverberates across the flock. And if you watch how they behave, each starling only pays close attention to the birds around them. That's how it reverberates across the group. So you don't have to change the world. You just have to live the change. You don't know who the next person watching your example is. You don't know who you're empowering next because of what you have done and the choices that you've taken. But when you do that, watch it reverberate across the flock and into our culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa Tan. One thing for sure, Melissa, now we all are fully aware, recycle less and not more. Thank you for that. Okay, please remain on stage. We've got a question for you right now. Okay, a few of you actually submitted your questions. However, due to time constraint, I'm able to read one of the questions. So, this is how it goes. In advocating for a circular economy, how can individuals and communities realistically integrate sustainable living practices without feeling overwhelmed by the idea of zero waste?
Perfect question. Thank you for that. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. I was not a zero waster overnight, and I can tell you everyone in that community feels the same. But once you start going that rabbit hole, you develop the muscle and it gets stronger. I always imagine it as, for those from that generation, do you know MacGyver? He always gets put in all these situations, and using just his resourcefulness, he will be able to break out of that situation because of his mind. And that's your superpower. One by one, it is not taking it everything at once, but taking care of it one thing at a time. And what you want to do is you automate it. See, like zero waste living and living ecologically responsible isn't just about making a choice every single day. It's about making it the default so you don't have to make a choice at all. It is like living and breathing to me right now. I haven't shopped for new clothes in 6 years, and yet I've dressed better than ever before, because now it's second nature to me to not do that. It's second nature for me to style. It's second nature for me to be resourceful in the way that I do things. But if you don't start, and it's as simple as, imagine that, BYO, that's the first step. Bring your own bottle, your own container, your own bag. Practice the art of saying, no thank you, I don't need more plastic. No thank you, I don't need more stuff. And go from there. And within a year, within 6 months, watch how far you've come and watch how powerful you truly are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Melissa Tan, terima kasih. May you continue to inspire all of us. Like she said, change is not easy, but I believe if we start doing it, like the plastic thing, for example, by now, a lot of us are getting used to the idea that when we do grocery shopping, we bring our own bag, you know, instead of relying at the grocer for plastics and all that. So it takes time, it takes effort, and I believe if Melissa can do it, we can all do it. So thank you once again, Melissa Tan. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have another inspiring young leader who continues to make waves in Malaysia's sustainability scene. All right, her passion lies in helping communities build waste literacy, adopt sustainable habits, and collaborate across sector to drive environmental change. Please put your hands together for Ms. Tasha Sabapati.
Hear me? Okay, pendek sikit, so yeah, we have to adjust. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. I'm quite excited actually because Mel kind of said about 50% of what I would usually talk about, which is zero waste. But very briefly, has anyone heard of Zero Waste Malaysia? Yeah, woo! Okay, I think maybe about 10 lah, hopefully. So we are a local NGO and we advocate for sustainable living. So today, the topic I was given was this, and I think because Melissa set a very good kind of precursor to what zero waste is, I'll be focusing more on what are some of the solutions that we as an NGO have tried to create. Tapi before that, maybe we can play a short game. Boleh tak? Okay, so the game is called Sit or Stand. Tahu macam mana nak main? Tak tahu, sit or stand. So I'll have a few prompts coming up on the screen, and you just answer lah, either sit or you stand, so that we exercise sikit. Boleh? Boleh. Okay, terpaksa. Okay, first one. If you're feeling sleepy right now, sit. If yes, you are feeling sleepy, stand if you are awake and ready to like, woo!
Everyone sitting down.
Yes! Like I saw one person come up first. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So, okay, energy masih ada lah. Next one is sit or stand if you think you know what zero waste is. Really? After the... Okay. Okay, some still... Okay, nice. I expect everyone to be seated after Melissa's session just now. Next one is, I consider myself to be environmentally friendly. If you think yes, remain seated. If you think no, I'm still figuring things out, you can stand. Okay, that's completely fine. No shame. And the next one is, I have convinced someone to reduce waste before. Sit if yes, you have, and stand if you haven't yet. But maybe that's something that you will do soon. Fuyo. Okay, everyone here macam zero waste expert lah, maybe. And the last one is, I believe I can create change. So remain seated if yes, and stand if you feel like maybe not yet. I should have reversed this and then make you guys stand up a bit more. Okay, improvement for next time. So that leads me into the next slide, which is a question for you guys. So Malaysians, in 2021, this was from 2021 statistics, Malaysians had a 76% concern for COVID-19. Cuba guess what percent in the same report that we had for climate change. Just shout. 2, 21. Anything else? Macam buat lottery ni. 10. Anything else? 30. Woo! Optimist. Lagi? So the actual answer was 1%. Yeah, woo, boo. And this is my favorite slide and statistic to show, because it doesn't necessarily mean we don't care about climate change, but when we look at the word urgency, then everything makes sense. Because this was at a time where COVID was at its highest, and everyone was kind of banding together, policies were coming in, systems were getting better, healthcare was taking priority. And why are we not doing that about climate change when it's something that's incredibly urgent, and it's something that we might not be able to escape from? So that's also why today I would like to talk about how, as an NGO, we've shifted away from just creating awareness, which is very important and very, very much needed for our stakeholders to support the systems that we create, but also how we've created programs that try to build new systems and create sustainable change. So sustainable doesn't always mean, okay, green trees, but it also means something that lasts. So kita tengok sikit lah some of our programs. Okay, before that, also this is one of my favorite frameworks, because I tak suka numbers and I don't like complicated graphs. So I'm a very simple person, and this looks like Mickey Mouse. There's just 3 things. So this is something I found when I was thinking about how we can create change and make it lasting. So according to this diagram, the first thing that we need is the individual mindset, which is under programming. So that's exactly what Melissa was talking about just now, about how as an individual we have the power, and it's all about how we ourselves can create that change. And the next thing is more of community. Kita besarkan sikit. So it's about cultural shift and how we can create that access, that infrastructure to build programs. And the last one, of course, is policy. So as a CSO side of things, we like to complain lah. We need policy, we need government makers to support us. But at the same time, we're doing our part with the individual and the cultural shifts. But everyone knows that policy can definitely accelerate that change. So that's why that's one of the items there. So I'll talk about 3 programs / initiatives that we've done at Zero Waste Malaysia, which try to touch on all 3 of these areas. So the first one is our Jom Repair program, which just launched this year. And we just finished one of our workshops 2 days ago. So I'm very happy to share about it. And this one touches more on the public awareness cultural part. So this is a program where we are trying to grow the repair and reuse movement within communities. How many people here have fixed their own broken rice cooker or oven dekat rumah before? Has anyone tried fixing things at home? Woo! Okay, we have some repair people around. Oh, we also have Casey. Casey is our repair guru, by the way, from our team. Woo! Yeah, so not everyone knows how to repair things, although this is something that's actually very basic, and these are skills that we can use in our daily lives and that we should use to prolong the things that we have and create less waste. So the whole goal of Jom Repair is to really train people, empower them, and amplify the whole movement. And how do we make that sustainable? Because we can just fix something that's broken, kan? It's also the same outcome. But we're trying to make it where people themselves are then empowered to continue this movement. So for the whole Jom Repair program, we upskill from demand. So we don't just blindly go into this program and say, okay, shock sendiri, I like repair, nak buat repair. But actually, we founded this program because we saw a need from the community and they were interested in the idea of repairing. Second thing is to create opportunity and motivation. So first of all, we try to empower our cadets by calling them repair cadets, repair specialists, and then repair master. So macam you can advance level lah. And the other thing is also when you facilitate our workshops as a repair cadet, you do get an allowance. So there is some like extrinsic motivation as well as intrinsic. And of course, that's very important because if you don't motivate people to come back and support the community, then they won't do it. And the last one is to reduce dependency. So the best programs we can create is the one that we can walk away from and it still runs. If it's a program that continuously needs us, then there's something wrong. It's not sustainable. So that's for Jom Repair. And the next one is our flagship Green Wira program. Our bosku and our team from Green Wira is also here, Irene and Christina over there. Woo! So the Green Wira program is about us working with schools and trying to create change at schools. But it's not that easy, kan, because we're an NGO and we're not ministry level and there's a lot of syllabus and susah lah. So we decided to go directly to teachers who are the backbone of our education system. So with the Green Wira program, we have different phases. We start by teaching teachers with an online course, and then we get them to propose ideas for zero-waste schools, followed by us choosing which ones to seed fund and support for the next few months. And then we monitor their impact as well, and we help them to accelerate that change. So the way we select our schools pun is very, very strict. Irene will tell you all about it. And the reason for that is because we want to see projects that can create this systemic change. So for example, these are some of the projects that we have. And we're currently in our second cohort. So this is some of the impact that we've had to date. We have 3 zero-waste schools. 3 are currently in progress, almost done. Educators-wise, in our first cohort, we focused on teachers within the Klang Valley. And then cohort 2, which is ongoing, we went nationwide. So we besarkan lagi because we love to stress ourselves. And luckily, the impact pun besar lah. So when I say we're very strict with what kind of projects we try to do and we don't do them blindly. For example, one of the projects by Cikgu Kuzaima, this one, SK Teluk Panglima Garang, is to build an MRF, a materials recovery facility. So when we choose these projects also, we make sure that there is something tangible that students can see at the schools, that teachers can see, that people coming from outside can come and see. And let's say if something happens and the teachers have to leave that school or new students are coming in, that project is still there. And that's very, very important to the Green Wira program and how you run things, because we don't want something that, okay, but workshop, lepas tu habis. That's not sustainable either. So for SMK Taman Melawati, this project was focused on rainwater harvesting as well as energy reduction, energy optimization as well. So we try and also pick a diverse group. And this was only our first cohort. We also had Cikgu Joshua, who did a return and reuse and return kind of container system. So you know, dekat sekolah, we have all the plastic bags with our French fries. So they piloted a project that uses reusable cups, which is very wow for schools. So these are only the first 3 projects that we have done with this program, but we hope to accelerate and do a lot more and have these macam inspire everyone else and other schools in the future. And actually, we are looking for funding and collaborators. So if anyone is interested, sikit promo, please feel free to reach out to Irene or Putri over there. Yeah, woo! And the last initiative I wanted to share is our policy and research team that we launched in 2024. Remember, I mentioned that policy is so important, tapi it's susah as an NGO for us to basically change policies overnight, right? So we realized that we ourselves don't entirely understand what are the gaps, what are the problems with the policies we have now. For example, our current policy, Act 672, actually mentions that by right, we should segregate waste at the source. Tapi, does everyone do that? Not everyone, and not all facilities. So from there, we also consulted with some experts, primarily on organic waste management, on how we can manage our food waste, because food waste is about 45% of household waste. So why are we not focusing on that? That's our question, and that's what we're trying to solve. So hopefully by the end of this year, we can also publish a policy brief that informs people like you and I, all of the stakeholders, on what are the active solutions out there, not just locally, but also from nearby countries. So we're also speaking to people in Indonesia and Singapore to find best practices. So if there are any policymakers or local council representatives in the audience, feel free to get in touch. We would love to share these findings with you, and hopefully we can also pursue our zero waste agenda together. So I'm almost done. We still have a long way to go, to be honest, when it comes to systemic change and creating zero waste change. Individual action is one thing, and there's a reason why it's so important, is because we have to wait for systemic change. It takes a long time, really lama gila. But at the same time, we are quite hopeful, but it doesn't come without challenges. So some of the things that we're seeing and some of the problems that we see in trying to create systemic change is, of course, knowledge gaps. Knowledge gaps, false solutions, infrastructure accessibility, lack of enforcement. I could probably go on for an hour to complain. Tapi, the good thing is we're seeing a lot of positives as well. And as an NGO, we realize that collaboration is key to change. Macam cheesy sikit, tapi I would like to add another word to that, which is collaboration is key to accelerating change. Because there's many things that we can do, but we're not experts at everything. Zero waste isn't even a very well-known concept. It's not in our science books. It's something maybe 15 years ago none of us have heard of. And it's something we're still learning about every single day. So when we reach out to experts and stakeholders such as yourself, such as local communities, anyone who's basically got a solution that they want to share, our job is to empower and support them. So that's why we have our Green Wira program, working with teachers. We work with a lot of other NGOs, and we try to strengthen that movement from local to national to global across all regions. So, I nak buat promo sikit, boleh tak? Okay, sikit promo only. So, all of the 3 initiatives that I mentioned just now, they weren't our own ideas. They actually came from all of you, from the community. So, every year we run this stakeholder survey, which is a public survey, just basically asking people, what should we do to make your lives better and more sustainable? Because we could go on forever and forever doing what we think is right. Tapi, we're not the target audience. We should be reaching out to people who don't care about the environment. That's the people that we want to speak to. So if you have some time, I would encourage everyone to scan this QR to also take part. You don't have to do it now because sikit panjang. But if you do have time, it would really mean a lot to us to get some of your feedback. And this is, of course, something that we will share with everyone in terms of the results that will hopefully help other NGOs and grassroots as well. And you might win a voucher, so that's great. But yeah, I will end my slide there. If you would like to reach out to us, please just search Zero Waste Malaysia or come speak to me after the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tasha. Please remain on stage. Okay, from what you shared with us about Jom Repair and then Green Wira program. I was very much attracted to Green Wira program simply because I've got kids, kan. So when this kind of program reaches out on the school level, you're actually creating awareness, which I think is so amazing because some of us, you say everything starts from home, But some of us don't even practice from home. So, and then we send them to school, right? So that's where they spend like 4 to 5 hours daily. And if this kind of program is being implemented in school level, this is amazing. To create awareness is great enough to begin with, and hopefully it will leave an impactful effect much later. Good job on that. But that's not it. We've got one question for you. Babe, mana tu babe? Soalan dia tadi tu?
Skip je lah.
Soalan dah hilang dah. Okay, sekejap. Sekejap ya. Okay. Alright, I'll simplify the question. Okay, so there are many people in this room involved in policy making and program creation. If you can send a message to them on behalf of your zero waste community, what would you want to convey besides telling them who can fund, can come forward and fund kan? But what is the more crucial message would you like or can you convey to them?
I think the most important thing is to create solutions that are based on the current problems. So I was mentioning a little bit about our policy team and what we're working on and the gaps that we see. And for us, one of the biggest problems that we see is food waste management, for example, organic food waste. So there's nothing that's really being done about that. So I would encourage policymakers to kind of look at the facts, come to us, organizations, not necessarily Zero Waste Malaysia, there's so many out there, and find out what are those solutions that actually work, that have been proven to work. Because zero waste itself has so much opportunities to create jobs, to create income, and ultimately reduce waste, because we are consuming at a rate where we cannot just focus on managing, we need to reduce. So hopefully, people will listen to us, policymakers can listen to us, because we're very much open doors and we're looking to collaborate. We're not looking to marah or anything like that. We just want to work with you and share the knowledge that we have gathered as well from local communities and to push that forward.
Thank you once again. Another round of applause for Tasha. Thank you, Tasha. Terima kasih. Well, this itself has created awareness among us. So it's never too late to start something. It's always better late than never. So thank you once again. And now I will move on to our final young leader. The founder and chief executive officer of Adab Youth Garage, AYG, a Malaysian non-profit organization committed to empowering and uplifting young people from all walks of life. Through strong collaboration with government, corporate, and non-profit partners, he continues to drive impactful initiatives that nurture young potential and build stronger communities. Please put your hands together for Mr. Nizam Samsudin. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And selamat tengah hari. Okay. I would like to talk in bahasa because I think kalau I cakap bahasa Inggeris nanti I stuck. Okay, boleh. So berkenaan dengan Adab Youth Garage, kami memang NGO yang berada di seluruh negara. Setakat ni kita ada 15 cawangan di seluruh negara, dan di Selangor kita memang ada banyaklah, sebab kita bermula di Selangor, dan kita bergerak maju ke depan ke beberapa sebuah tempat lah. Then next, actually apa yang kita ada, yang kita lihat, yang kita nampak sebenarnya isu pada anak-anak muda kita. So anak-anak muda kita ni banyak yang berada di luar sana tu, either memang dia orang tak ke sekolah, atau kalau ke sekolah pun nanti ada masalah lain yang dia orang akan hadap, yang dia orang akan buat. Macam dalam gambar ni, mereka mungkin dia orang hadir ke sekolah, but then lepas habis sekolah dia orang merokok, dia orang lepak-lepak, kemungkinan dia orang tak ke sekolah juga, dia orang melepak. Dan ada juga yang habis sekolah tu terus ke kedai mamak, dan lepas tu dia orang mingle around together with their friends. The issue is apabila mereka buat begitu, banyak isunya adalah tentang kesihatan. Maksudnya bila merokok semua kan dia akan menjejaskan kesihatan kita semualah. Jadi itulah yang kami buat dekat AYG. Maknanya kita nak mereka bila mereka dah habis sekolah ataupun mereka ada mahu ke tempat untuk berlepak bersama tu, diorang datang ke tempat kita. Itulah namanya ruang ketiga. Maksudnya ada rumah dan ke sekolah, dan ruang yang kita namakan AYG itulah ruang ketiga untuk mereka. So then next, dalam ruang ketiga ini adalah kita akan ada pekerja beli kita ataupun kita namakan sebagai youth worker. Pekerja beli kita ni akan berada 2 orang di setiap cawangan, dan pekerja belia kita ni akan bertugas membantu anak-anak miskin bandar ni, dan terutama mereka suka lepak-lepak ni. Pertamanya memang nak siapkan kerja rumah. Tolong mereka siapkan kerja rumah. Kenapa kena siapkan kerja rumah? Sebab kita dulu waktu kita muda-muda dulu, kita semua muda kan. Jadi bila kita tak siap kerja rumah, kita takut ke sekolah. Betul? Dan kenapa takut ke sekolah? Sebab cikgu garang. Itu confirm. Cikgu-cikgu memang kena garang. Kalau tak garang nanti anak-anak ni tak apa-apa nak berjadi. Jadi bila cikgu garang, mereka ni takut nak ke sekolah sebab dia orang tak siapkan kerja rumah. Itu yang kita kata, pekerja beli kita ni akan bantu mereka siapkan kerja rumah. Dan kita namakan sebagai informal learning lah. Mana tidak formal. Dia orang kasi siapkan kerja rumah. Kalau Muslim kita ajak untuk solat maghrib, isyak together. And then lepas tu mereka boleh mingle around with your friends untuk siapkan kerja rumah dia orang. And then of course ruang selamat untuk mereka lah. In fact sebenarnya ruang selamat ni bukan sekadar untuk anak-anak ni saja tau. Mak ayah pun akan rasa selamat untuk anak-anak berada di sekolah. Saya yakin, saya anak 6 orang ramai. Dan saya yakin ramai yang ada di sini pun ada anak-anak kecil dan masih bersekolah. Dan of course kita akan risau anak-anak kita kan. Macam mana nanti dia kat sekolah okey ke tak, makan okey ke tak, kawan-kawan dia macam mana, kena bully ke tak. Sekarang isu bully banyak kan. Jadi benda tu memang anak kita sebagai parent ni akan risau pada anak-anak kita. Jadi ruang selamat ini memang sangat selamat pada parent dan juga pada anak untuk mereka hadir dan berada bersama dengan rakan-rakan yang lain. Dan of course kita ada pekerja beli kita full time. Okay, then next. Berikutnya ini adalah cawangan-cawangan yang kita ada di seluruh negara, but then tidak ada lagi di Sabah Sarawak lah. Macam mana saya katakan tadi, Selangor memang kita ada banyak sebab kita bermula di Selangor, dan thanks God juga sebab Selangor dah mula menjadi negeri maju. But then yet kita kena bantu mereka juga berada di setiap cawangan. Yang kalau saya nak sentuh kat sini, yang paling best adalah kita bersama dengan di Kota Damansara. Tempat kita yang kedua selepas di Bandar Baru Bangi, kita bersama dengan PPS, Perpustakaan Awam Selangor, PPS. Dan PPS banyak bantu kita menjadikan buku-buku yang banyak, buku exactly mahal sekarang. So bila buku mahal, kita sebagai NGO ni tak mampu nak beli. Jadi library bantu. Dan amazingly, apa yang kita nampak depan mata kita adalah anak-anak yang miskin bandar ni datang dan lepas tu mereka sukakan pada buku, dan mereka ambil buku tu dan mereka baca. Instead kalau misalnya diorang tak boleh baca pun, diorang akan tengok gambar-gambar tu. Itu yang saya seronok sangatlah melihat depan mata saya itu berlaku. Dan beberapa tempat lain macam contoh yang warna biru tu, itu memang ada ketua kampung ataupun tempat tu sendiri yang mahu buat, dan mereka belajar dengan kita dan kita bantu mereka dalam memberi pembelajaran pada pihak mereka untuk buat benda yang sama. Okay, next. Apa pun perkara ni, memang kita nak bantu anak-anak miskin bandar ni yang berada di rumah-rumah tinggi ni, supaya mereka sedar dan mereka tahu bahawa kita mahu mereka move on together dengan kita. Dan mereka harus percaya pada diri mereka lah. Kan? Ini contoh, gambar berikut ni adalah contoh bagaimana kita angkat anak-anak muda ni bersama dengan kita. Yang pertama tu Amma, memang dia potong rambut, dia belajar dengan kawan kita untuk potong rambut dulu, dan lepas tu dia boleh potong rambut. Now kita buat di Bandar Baru Bangi. Oh, please come lah tu Bandar Baru Bangi, tak jauh pun, dekat je. Dan lepas tu boleh Amma ni, anak-anak ni memang suka potong rambut dengan Amma. In fact, macam anak saya sendiri, kalau nak potong rambut, dia cakap nak abang Amma, nak abang Amma. Okay, fine, kita bawa je ke dia. Dan Amma ni memang dia pakar lah untuk gunting rambut, no worries. Kalau nak potong rambut boleh try. Yang kedua kita ada Syifa. Syifa adalah memang duduk di kawasan rumah-rumah tinggi ni, tak salah saya di Shah Alam, dan dia sangat dikenali Syifa ni sendiri dikenali oleh ramai penduduk di situlah. Well, itu kampung dia. So jadi bila dia dikenali, ramai mak dan ayah-ayah ni semua akan sekong Syifa ni sebab dia kenal Syifa. Itu yang saya kata, kita kena up-riskkan anak-anak muda ni supaya mereka disokong dan dibantu oleh golongan masyarakat yang berada di kawasan mereka berada. Ketiga, Daniel pun ada dekat sini. Mana Daniel? Daniel, kau bangun sikit Daniel. Perkenalkan dia malu, shy. Macam itulah budak-budak boleh main shy cat. But then Daniel ni banyak bantu kita juga. Daniel ni sangat kreatif. Banyak kita punya buku-buku pun design by Daniel. Daniel tak belajar tinggi, but then orangnya tinggi lah. Saya rendah sikit banding dia. So kalau misalnya kata Daniel ni, kalau dia buat design memang cantik. Sampai kan orang banyak yang ambil buku kita orang tu akan cakap, siapa yang buat ni? Itulah orangnya, Daniel nama dia. Okey, yang berikutnya adalah Youth Leader Club. Youth Leader Club ni yang kita nak bangunkan dan kita cuba bangunkan pada kebanyakan tempat yang kita ada. Tapi yang agak sukses sekarang di Shah Alam lah. Dan inilah gambar-gambarnya, adik-adik yang berada di sana. Youth Leader Club ni memang anak muda ni nak apa? Itu yang saya banyak kali kata, bercakap dengan banyak pihak. Youth Leader Club, anak muda ni bukan yang mahukan keuangan. Dia bukan mahukan duit. Tapi dia mahukan kepercayaan mak dan ayah mereka, abang-abang dia atau kakak dia untuk percaya pada dia. Dan lepas tu dia boleh buat, sebenarnya jujur saya lihat anak muda ni dia boleh buat apa yang kita nak sebenarnya. Jangan suruh dia angkat meja, angkat kursi, kan? Bukan. Minta dia buat benda more than that. Dan insyaAllah dia boleh buat sebenarnya. So apa yang kita buat dengan YLC ni sebenarnya, dia orang pernah buat satu paper. In fact, dia mencadangkan pada surau berdekatan dengan tempatnya. Dan AJK surau. Terkejut. Tak pernah berlaku dalam hidup dia. Dia kata, anak muda nak buat gotong royong dekat surau. Ni dekat surau. Bukan nak azan, bukan nak imam, nak buat gotong royong. Dan anak muda ni yang buat. Kita pernah buat, kita boleh lah. Kalau nak buat dekat sini pun boleh, KCC. Tapi ni anak muda boleh buat. Jadi itu yang saya katakan, bahawa sebenarnya anak muda perlu diberi keberanian mereka untuk mereka cipta keberanian yang tu. And then yang last adalah Haikal, yang paling depan ni. Haikal ni belajar dekat tak ingat, tapi belajar dekat UP, dekat dengan Bandar Baru Bangi itulah. And then dia sampai sekarang dia daripada awal lagi bersama dengan kita till now. Dia masih bersama dan now sekarang dia banyak membantu kita lah. Kalau kita ada buat kalau korban ke kan, dia nak tolong. Itulah anak muda yang boleh kita angkat dan kita perlu angkat mereka. Yang berikutnya adalah gambar ni yang sebelah kanan saya, maksudnya kiri you all lah. Itu adalah daripada kampung Bukit Cerakah. Kampung Bukit Cerakah ni dia berminat sangat dengan AYG. Hari tu dia tengok kita dekat Shah Alam, dan dia berminat sangat dan dia nak buat. Dan Kampung Bukit Cerakah ni lah ketuanya, dia memiliki tempat ni sebenarnya. Dia renovate seperti mana gambar kita dekat tempat yang dilihat tu, dia buat juga benda yang sama. And then dengan itulah maksudnya perkara ni berjalan dengan baik. Dan now dekat Kampung Bukit Cerakah tu, alhamdulillah Lembaga Zakat bantu kita, Zakat Selangor bantu kita untuk memberi pendidikan membaca pada anak-anak yang tak boleh membaca. And then yang berikutnya adalah kini kita buat projek GMI bersama dengan GMI, camp remaja adab ni. Sebenarnya kita nak ajar mereka supaya untuk berani membuat paper, dan mereka boleh melihat sendiri bagaimana keadaan GMI itulah. Student tu belajar kat situ macam mana. In fact sebenarnya dengan GMI ni ada student daripada college kita, daripada tempat kita ni yang dapat further study dekat GMI. Itu yang kita rasa seronok lah. Ini benda-benda lain yang kita dapat sukses daripada MIP. And then kita juga dapat sokongan daripada Raja Muda Selangor untuk dia punya diangkat kita lah. And then ni takrim daripada UIA juga kita terima daripada pihak UIA. Of course ini yang lain-lain lah yang kita dapat bersama dengan urbanis. Kot saya dengar urbanis ada kat sini juga kot. So thanks for that. Dan mungkin ini adalah profesional kerja beliau yang kita bersama dengan pihak kerajaan untuk mengangkat anak-anak muda ni bersama dengan kita. YB Jufiti pun bersama dengan kita juga. Thanks God. Alhamdulillah. Dan saya fikir inilah sebenarnya anak-anak muda yang perlu kita angkat dan kita lihat mahunya kita membawa mereka bersama dengan kita. Bukan untuk kita, tapi untuk dia sebenarnya. We have do a lot of thing. Sebab anak muda ni yang saya katakan tadi, mereka ni bukan nakkan duit. Mereka ni bukan nakkan kuasa. Tapi mereka nakkan kepercayaan kita yang senior ni untuk bantu mereka to lift them up. Supaya mereka ni boleh move together bersama dengan kita. Kan? Jadi at least dengan cara begitu, idea mereka tu kadang-kadang tak akan dapat daripada kita. Idea tu datang daripada dia. Dengan cara itulah kita ambil idea tu, lepas tu cuba wrap up bersama dengan dia. Jangan tinggalkan anak muda ni bersendirian lah. We have to move together. So insyaAllah, I think kita mungkin boleh tunggu dalam 10 tahun atau 15 tahun akan datang. I believe in myself. I believe in God. InsyaAllah. Perkara ini kita boleh sukses together bersama insyaAllah. Wallahualam. Saya serahkan balik.
Encik Nizam, saya pun jawab dalam bahasa Melayu lah ya.
Boleh
okay.
kan? Okay.
Tahniah diucapkan. Kita berikan tepukan dulu, terlebih dahulu. Tahniah diucapkan pada Encik Nizam dan semua yang terlibat. Adik-adik kita yang terlibat. Usaha yang sangat bagus saya kira. Daripada budak-budak ni kan, daripada terbiar melakukan aktiviti-aktiviti yang tak bermanfaat. Kita salurkan tenaga tu dengan benda-benda yang bermanfaat macam ni. Okey, kita ada satu soalan. Kita ada beberapa soalan sebenarnya. Tapi kerana masa mencemburui kita, seperti biasa, so saya akan ajukan satu soalan pada Encik Nizam ya. Okey, harapan Encik Nizam untuk bagi Adab Youth Garage ni bagi 3 ke 5 tahun akan datang. Okey, macam sekarang tadi Encik Nizam cerita, dah banyak dah komuniti yang panggil Encik Nizam kan nak tubuhkan Adab Youth Garage ni kat tempat diorang, dekat compound diorang, dekat area diorang, community diorang. So itu sekarang. So it's getting more, it's expanding. People are more aware about it. So mungkin dalam masa 3 ke 5 tahun akan datang macam mana pada pandangan Encik Nizam? Apakah expectation ataupun macam mana Cik Nizam lihat Adab Youth Garage ni akan lebih diterima dan dapat memberi sumbangan kepada komuniti ataupun masyarakat Malaysia? Budak-budak muda ni, silakan.
Macam ni yalah, tadi pun sebelum saya ni pun dah bercakap tentang waste management. Terlalu banyak perkara yang boleh kita move together bersama sebenarnya. Bukan sekadar apa yang kita buat lah maksudnya. Jadi kalau boleh bagi saya untuk Adab Youth Garage akan datang ni, kalau dapat kita nak supaya to move forward together. Bukan sekadar membantu anak-anak ni, tapi sediakan ruang apa lagi yang ada. Bukan sekadar ruang AYG saja. Ruang macam contoh kalau nak buat zero waste tadi, diorang boleh buat dengan pihak yang mana yang ada ni. Atau mungkin boleh dia nak buat recycle kan. So recycle bin ni sepatutnya kena ada di setiap tempat-tempat rumah kita dan kawasan-kawasan miskin bandar yang ada, supaya mereka boleh buang tong sampah kat sini, buat plastik kat sini kan, kaca yang sebelah sini kan, ada 3 tempat tu kan. Jadi dia kena buat benda ni. Jadi untuk menggerakkan anak muda ni, we have to move together. Don't let them down. Dan kita kena angkat semua untuk together lah supaya benda ni boleh sukses. Dan kita mahu melihat, saya jujurnya anak muda, kita kena angkat juga anak muda supaya bukan kita semata-mata untuk mengangkat benda ni, tapi anak muda juga bersama-sama kita mengangkat diri mereka sendiri untuk mereka melihat dia orang boleh buat sebenarnya seperti mana yang kita mahu. Itu cadangan saya lah. Mungkin terlalu tinggi, tapi tak apalah, kita buat lah kan. Tak apa kan. Okay,
yes. Cik Nizam, satu lagi soalan. Sebentar. Kita ada banyak soalan, tapi manakah kita ada sedikit masa berbaki. Okey, saya akan sharekan sokongan yang diperlukan oleh komuniti, kerajaan dan sektor swasta bagi golongan B40 pada pandangan Cik Nizam. Apa segi sokongan yang lebih diperlukan pada ketika ini bagi golongan B40? Saya jujur cakap, saya bukan boleh mengatakan tuntas tentang perkara ini, tapi pada pandangan yang saya ada, pada idea yang saya ada, untuk B40 young people maksudnya,
mereka memang perlukan yang saya katakan tadi, kepercayaan lah. Sebenarnya jujur cakap kepercayaan. Mungkin saya boleh cakap cerita saya sebelum ni lah. Saya pernah dilantik oleh ketua kampung. Kampung saya Kampung Terjenang, tak tahu kot. Dekat dengan Bangi. Yang angkat saya ni sebenarnya ketua kampung, namanya Tok Anjang. Ketua kampung ni punyalah dia nak saya bangun bersama dengan dia untuk memperkenalkan saya dengan masyarakat kampung. Tok ketua ni bawa saya jumpa setiap orang kampung. Ni Nizam, ni maknya arwah Hamisatun, ayahnya arwah Samsudin. Dia satu-satu dia cerita. Mak ayah kita ni dikenali oleh orang. Dan orang tak kenal kita ni anak. Dan disebabkan orang kenal kita, saya mudah untuk berbicara. Itu jugalah saya mengharapkan semua pihak kena buat benda yang sama. Kita, mak ayah ni ataupun kita sendiri mungkin kenal anak-anak ni, tapi anak-anak ni tak dikenali oleh masyarakat luar atau masyarakat lain. So, angkat mereka. Seperti mana orang kenal kita, seperti mana orang melihat kita sebagai orang yang mampu membawa satu yang lebih baik, angkat anak-anak ni bersama dengan kita, supaya mereka ni juga dilihat mampu untuk bersama dengan kita, mampu bersama dengan masyarakat yang lain. Itu my dream lah kot, insyaAllah.
InsyaAllah satu hari nanti. Sekarang pun dah jadi reality dah pun. Cuma selepas ni, now that you share this, Mr. Nizam, we are aware of what Adab Youth Garage is all about, what it does and how it can help young kids, young girls or young boys. So insyaAllah moving forward, all that you said can be materialized. Kita positif je.
Pray for me. Pray for us, insyaAllah.
Yes, insyaAllah. Terima kasih Encik Nizam Samsudin. Please remain on stage, Encik Nizam. Saya nak jemput Melissa Tan dan juga Tasha untuk sertai Encik Nizam. Haziq tidak dapat dikenal pasti di manakah lokasinya, tapi tak mengapa. Kita nak jemput Melissa dengan Tasha to join Mr. Nizam up on stage for a group photo session. Dipersilakan ke tengah-tengah stage, abang-abang cameraman dan videographer. Okay, senyum, maybe thumbs up ke apa, ada trademark masing-masing. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Tepukan gemuruh sekali lagi. A big round of applause for our aspiring young leaders. Congratulations to all of you. Okay. Wah, bang, dah macam dapat award dah kan? Alright, thank you Mr. Nizam, thank you Melissa, thank you Tasha, thank you so much. We've had an amazing session, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be taking a short break for lunch. Lunch will be served at the next hall, and due to just another information to share with all of you before I let you out officially. We would like to invite all participants to submit your declaration at the pledge wall located just outside the hall. So let us collectively affirm our commitment towards sustainability and meaningful action. Okay, so with that, selamat menjamu selera. Kita akan berjumpa kembali dalam pukul 2 petang. Nanti saya akan bunyikan loceng macam biasa. Thank you so much. Have a good lunch. I'll see you back at 2 p.m. Thank you.